What's going on today, YouTube? My name is Anthony here at TheFanUnion.com. We are run by the fans, for the fans, and we talk all sports all the time. In this first show of our new podcast called the Picket Podcast, we're going to talk about college football, the two bowl games, national championship next week. We'll talk about players, teams, betting lines, and hopefully give you guys some valuable information in college football. If you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button below, the like button, and there will be a link to our website if you have not checked it out already in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in there. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the Fan Union Pick Line Podcast. I'm Anthony, and we got Danny here, Jeremy here, and JT here, and we're gonna talk a little bit about last week's college football and this week's NFL football. We're gonna talk about a little bit Week 17 and then into the playoffs. So we'll start with the Rose Bowl, Alabama versus number 4 Notre Dame. Notre Dame got their ass handed to them. As a Notre Dame fan, wasn't really good to see, but what did you guys see? Danny?
I saw. Well, I think the play that kind of tells it all was that the Najee Harris hurdling the Notre Dame defensive back. It was kind of a Notre Dame seemed out of the league there, and when he hurdles him, all I could think about. Well, I've never been in a locker room in a football locker room before. I didn't play football or anything, but I don't know what kind of shit you get from your teammates for that play right there. And at that moment, that was kind of the moment where I thought Notre Dame's done. If you got players jumping over other players, you're the JV and they're the varsity, and that's how it seemed to me. It was Notre Dame seemed out of the league from snap number one. Upsetting because I'm a big Notre Dame fan, but yeah, that's kind of how I saw it.
Well, hey, listen, they were 3 touchdown underdogs for a reason, right? And it kind of showed. But a little bit of the drama, Notre Dame actually did a backdoor cover, which a lot of people were not very happy about. The spread kind of ranged from 17 to 21, and they ended up only losing by 17. So that was interesting. But Jared, what did you see?
Yeah, similar. As a big Notre Dame fan, it's just so frustrating. They continue to come up short in these big games. It's the same story, and not only come up short, but they're not even competitive. It's just a reminder that Notre Dame is they're really stuck in that kind of like 1A type of college football program. They're not the Alabamas, the Clemson, Ohio States. That they're in a different class.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that late cover was nice, definitely. I guess the
proves everybody's
saving
point,
grace
right? Right, Jeremy? It proves everybody's point that the haters on Notre Dame, right? They're all the haters now say, see, they're there because they're Notre Dame, because they're the big money team. That's why they keep getting in the playoffs. Every time Notre Dame gets crushed by Alabama, like they did even a few seasons back in the championship.
No, the haters love it. The haters love it. I had a few hater texts immediately after that game, just saying, "Classic Notre Dame," go undefeated and then get trounced in the playoffs or the national championship games.
Yeah.
At least we can say nobody else really fits in with those three teams, anyways. Maybe any more than we do. So that's our only defense.
And as we'll talk to, it's Clemson didn't look like necessarily it belonged to the same field as Ohio State either. So a single game can't be the reason people say that. But yeah, Notre Dame did not look like you could do anything with them.
Well, being an Auburn fan, it took me back to this year's Iron Bowl, and when you lose to Alabama like that, it is fucking soul crushing. You just feel like a mockery when Alabama blows you out like that. But again, I think it shows that if Notre Dame wants to be a true powerhouse, they can't be locked down to conference play. This just shows how much better the SEC, the Big Ten, they are than the ACC. Notre Dame, if they want to be competitive, they have to be allowed to play teams outside their conference year in and year out to build a program that's super competitive.
I think that's. I feel like Notre Dame though plays a difficult schedule every year. It's not their strength of schedule. In fact, the strength of schedule kind of is fairly strong usually. I think. Now, I think it's just a matter of they can't get over the hump against these top-notch teams every year.
They don't have a passing attack like these other teams do. That's just what it comes down to. Book can't throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns every game. He's lucky if he can hit 300. And he's a great player. It's just not what they do at Notre Dame.
It does feel that way. Why can this spread offense, Big 12 style play, where these quarterbacks are throwing 400 yards, quarterbacks scoring 50 touchdowns a year? Why does that not apply? Why can that not be applied? It seems like Notre Dame plays a different kind of game still to this day.
If you think back to Brian Kelly's time at Cincinnati, actually, he was really more of an offensive minded power, coach. So I don't know if he's kind of changed his ways a little bit just because the type of talent Notre Dame recruits and attracts. They obviously offensive linemen and tight ends, and running backs. These are the players that for some reason go to Notre Dame, and the other top receivers. Actually, Notre Dame's had some good receivers, but and especially some of the defensive players, it's not as it doesn't seem like they get the same talent as some of these other schools. So I think we're being a little critical of Notre Dame. They're still a great program, great team. Brian Kelly's done an amazing job, even though I'm not his biggest fan. But yeah, it's definitely frustrating. But anyway, looking forward to the national championship game. Should be a good one.
Yeah. Well, the game was true. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. One thing was true of this game was, and they talked about it during the game. I think the announcer said it a few times, is that time of possession is not always a great indicator of. You think the time of possession being so in favor of Notre Dame. I think what was the number? I don't know. It started out very much in Notre Dame's favor. Towards the end, it kind of came closer to even, but
33 to 26.
Yeah. So still even Notre Dame still had the upper hand there, but it was at one point it was 65-70% Notre Dame, and they were still just getting crushed, which it shouldn't even feel that way. It should feel like even though Notre Dame's losing from a score perspective, it should have felt that Notre Dame is still that you should have felt they're dominating because they had the ball in their hand so much. But when the other team just gets the ball back, scores so quickly, and then you're struggling to march down the field, barely getting those third down and fourth down conversions, it actually had the opposite effect where you really feel like Notre Dame had to struggle for every yard. And the minute Alabama got the ball back, you knew they were just going to march down the field for what? I think they said it was that 97-yard drive was the longest drive in Rose Bowl history. It seemed almost impossible, but that's kind of the way it was. And so yeah, time of possession, not a great indicator. I think a lot of coaches don't think it's a great indicator. In this game, it definitely did not show.
You know what a good indicator is? Two Heisman candidates on Alabama. Mac Jones and Devontae Smith kind of had a field day. Smith had 7 receptions, 130 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And all 3 of them were pretty much his doing. One was a 30-yard run. One was another 30-yard run. Another one was an incredible catch in the corner of the end zone. So, I mean, he's Heisman winner for a reason. He was announced tonight as the winner and well-deserved. Notre Dame couldn't keep up with him, I guess.
Yeah. And again, we're knocking Notre Dame. We did knock Notre Dame, but maybe, again, this is just Saban being a great coach. And I think I saw a post on TheFanUnion tonight about the Saban era and since he joined Alabama, 5 national titles. And what I thought was really interesting was 33 first-round NFL draft picks. That's crazy. Given just the quantity of colleges, to have 33 first-round NFL draft picks in 14 years, that's 2.5, a year, pretty crazy. And so Saban, just unbelievable coach and unbelievable recruiter, clearly.
Yeah, I got Alabama for that reason. A little sneak peek on my national championship pick.
Well, yeah, on that note, we can head over to Sugar Bowl to see the other side of the coin. Ohio State made a fool out of Clemson, 49-28. Did not look at that going into the game. Ohio State only played six games. They were lucky to get into the playoff, and they were a 7-point dog. So to win by 3 touchdowns is impressive, to say the least, against the number 2 team in the nation. Top performers were obviously Fields. He showed that, I don't want to say it. I don't necessarily think it, but Fields could go number 1 over Lawrence. It wouldn't be the craziest thing, but he definitely made a good showing in the Sugar Bowl, and we'll see what happens. What did you see, Dan, in that game?
Yeah, you know what? Coming into it, you talk that much shit about another team. I worry about the game in general. You got, Sweeney coming in, saying they're the 11th ranked team. That was the talk of the day. When does that ever pay off? When in sports does that ever not seem to blow up in your face when you do that? You know what I mean? Now, I'm on the side of Ohio State. Despite them winning this game, I don't love teams getting in with a 5-0, 6-0 record. I don't think that really works. I don't think that's something that, despite this being an odd year, I don't think that's a precedent you want to set. That it's just, well, you didn't play some games, you still perfect record. It's not, for me, doesn't really work. Now, Ohio State proved Dabo Sweeney wrong and proved all these proved even me wrong from that perspective. But I think that this was kind of a predetermined. The outcome was kind of predetermined the minute he ranked them 11th, got them that bulletin board material, and they came out and kind of rammed it down their throat again, to the point where it was like that by the end of this game, it was really a runaway. And I think somebody talked about it, but there are some turning points in that game, and one being that targeting penalty. And I don't know. What do you think, guys? Did that targeting penalty, was that a turning point? Was there a chance Clemson stays in the game if that kind of doesn't happen, or you think it didn't really matter?
Jared, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to be a turning point. Someone, I think it was Anthony, made me aware that he was actually same player was actually ejected last year in the playoff. So
the guy clearly has no
talk about being
worry in
targeted
the world about himself. It's a big hitter.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, yeah, it was sitting at 21-14 at the time, and a leader of your defensive team and senior linebacker, I mean, goes out. It'll probably have an impact, and I don't know if that. It's hard to say if that would have made the game go the other way, but it could have been closer.
No,
I think it's a bullshit call, personally. I hate the penalty. You can go on TheFanUnion.com right now and you can see how much I hate the penalty. Poll on there if you want to vote on it. But I think it was crap. At that point, Fields is a ball carrier. He's not a quarterback anymore. He's running across the middle. He spun into the tackle, it looked like. I mean, I do think that Skalski, lowered his head, it looked like. But when you hit a ball carrier in the ribs, is that ever really a targeting penalty? I mean, come on.
It's crazy.
The penalty is flawed itself, but in a tight game, a big hit like that, I don't like the call.
Anthony, I absolutely agree with you. You have to, these types of penalties, they have to call them with an understanding of the game and the situation differently, right? You make, these penalties are in place to protect the players in the long term, but in the biggest moments, to call a targeting penalty on a questionable call, it really bothers me. And like you said, Fields being a ball carrier there, I mean, I see it in the NFL all the time. They want to protect these quarterbacks so much, but these quarterbacks are perhaps some of the best athletes on the field, and these defenders are helpless against them. And when they slide at the last second, and another 15-yard penalty, I don't know what a defender's supposed to do. I mean, it's so frustrating to watch. So I agree with you on the targeting penalty. I think it'd be interesting to hear other people's reactions on TheFanUnion.com. But yeah, it's unfortunate that such a big play could have such a potentially such a big impact on the game.
Can't
As
just
someone who
protect. Oh, go ahead, JT.
Sorry, I was going to say, as someone who played football, you're taught to head down, face mask up, hit someone in the chest where they're carrying the ball, where the ball is, to try and knock it out. They're trying to rewrite the rules to reteach people how to tackle so that they protect the offensive players, protect the quarterback. So what are you going to do? Go back and reteach guys in the NFL and guys in college how to tackle? Reteach kids how to play the game? It's bullshit, in my opinion. You teach kids how to play for a reason. You can't go and say, oh, that's no good anymore, and start making up penalties here and there. There has to be some consistency between what the rules are and what you teach kids and players to do.
Yeah. No. Well, I think it's gonna get to the point where you're gonna get the practice jersey on the quarterback, the yellow penny, and they're gonna be, you pull their flag or something. Like, this is almost where we're headed, because the quarterback is having special rules now, whether they're a ball carrier or passer, whether they're in the pocket, out of the pocket, they're getting the special rules applied. It's just going to be a two-hand touch. They're going to blow the whistle. But you know what? If this will never happen, and it's kind of like a pipe dream. If all these coaches don't like it and they hate when it happens to their team, can they decline the penalty? Decline the penalty. I don't want it. They never will. Their fan base would hate them for it. But you know what? Like, you all hate it until it happens, and then you accept it and you win the game because of it. And it's crazy. And the NFL had its own share of calls just this week that were bullshit on the quarterback. I'm sure.
I really think the officials have to swallow their whistle on these type of calls in big spots. I'm sorry, it's not. You call it week one, but when the playoffs aren't in the playoffs, or when the playoffs are on the line, when the game is on the line, to make that type of call.
His helmet doesn't pop off from the other guy's helmet. I don't want to see it in this game. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
If the head's not rolling in the helmet, I don't want to see it. So, and to be honest, with the field stuff, the worst thing about this, and this not to take everything to the Jets, but the worst thing about this game is Fields was impressive. And of course, now it's all Fields is the talk, and the Jets are going to have Fields as their quarterback, and I don't believe in Fields, and they're going to waste their second pick on Fields. And that's what
Ohio State quarterback
this game, and that's what I was thinking about the entire game. Is how the Jets are going to now have Fields as their quarterback. And
isn't it amazing how one big game like this could really changes people's perspective on a quarterback? I mean, obviously Fields was a Heisman candidate, or he's a big time quarterback. But like, I think back 2 years ago to the national championship, Clemson, Alabama, and you had Tua versus Lawrence. And it was all the talk was Tua going into the game. And then obviously Lawrence put on an absolute show. It was amazing. I was so impressed. And the narrative after the game was, yeah, Tua, he's nice, but this guy Lawrence, who's going to get Trevor Lawrence, when he comes out in 2 years. And people put a lot of stock on these big games. And they're big moments, I get it, but
they're big moments.
Yeah, we'll see if the Jets
Didn't the Jets say the same thing about Sam Darnold not too long ago?
That's a whole nother podcast. We could spend 40 minutes on Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Look, I just don't want this to raise Fields' draft stock so much that the Jets go after Fields in the second pick if he's not a second round pick. And unfortunately, now that makes it a much tougher decision for them. And so that was my big, with no real skin in this game and had no horse in this race. And that was as a Jets fan, that's what bothered me the most about this game.
Look, to bring it back to the rules real quick, and some of the calls made by referees. In soccer, they have this system called VAR, video assistant review, and they can overturn a ref's decision if they think they make a crappy decision. The NFL should have, and college football should have something like that, because you're absolutely right. Sometimes the refs need to swallow their whistle. They make shit calls. They know it, and nothing gets done about it. They're not held accountable at all for blowing a call in the NFL or in college football. If someone was always watching their back and saying, you made a shit call, change it, why not?
Yeah.
I like it, JT. I like it. But that's just more time for commercials and more time for me to get bored watching the game, and that's what I don't want.
Look,
But
I understand, but the game's even more boring when, refs go and make crap decisions and no one's held accountable. It kills the product. Watching games filled with crappy calls kills the product as well, just as much as how long it takes.
See, what soccer has the benefit of it, literally in watching soccer and these our reviews, the soccer game continues, and then they go, because no one ever scores in that interim period and no action usually happens, they're willing to just say, oh, we're going to take it back to 3 minutes earlier, and you get a free kick from here, and all's well in the world. But in football, obviously, as soon as the next snap happens, you can't go back. And so it's an issue of time and the opportunity to review within that time before the next snap. But I'm with you. For me, if it can happen within the time of the next snap naturally, and they can get that call into the field and literally get it changed that quickly, well, okay. But if it's this sit under a booth, look at it, put headphones on, no, that's too much for me.
That reminds me of another FanUnion grievance that we have.
Yeah,
related to the time spent on reviewing plays. I don't know why in 2020 fans, we know minutes before the field the plays determined on the field. I don't know if it's intentional for ad space or just kind of game breaks, but
they're going, well, what time was on the clock during their call? What position was it on the field? And they're doing these other things that just take so long. And at the end of the day, it's even changed the way they referee. Not so much on these calls that can't be reversed, but is there a fumble now that they actually blow dead? They kind of let every fumble go, let the melee happen a lot of times, and they go pretty much in the back of their head go, I'll let the play go, and then we'll always could call it back. But then there's that issue of the ruling on the field stands, so you get the benefit of the doubt. So if it's a close play, so I think it always now, oddly enough, has benefited. It's benefiting the referees not blowing their whistle a lot of the times, and the ruling on the field stands more times than it probably should.
Yeah.
But
someone had the idea that, you've heard the idea that instant replay should be played at full speed, or you should have 30 seconds. The reviewer should have 30 seconds to make a decision. If it's not clear in 30 seconds, and obviously the ruling on the field should stand, or there's all these different things to expedite the process.
Certainly,
whatever it is,
no catch play, whether it was a catch or whether it was fumbling in their hands, should ever be slowed down to 1/1000th of a speed. And the ball is a little jostle between his fingers is a non-catch. It's nonsense. I think it's gotten a little better. They've kind of checked that a little bit, but watching it full speed. If the referee watching it again and again in the same speed they watched it on the field can't still make the decision, then the call on the field has to just stand. I agree. Now,
well, all good points, fellas. Let's get back to the game. I mean, that was pretty much it. Clemson just didn't show up really, or Ohio State just really showed up. I'm not sure which one it was, but either way, if you had the over, that was the right call. A lot of points scored.
Let me ask you guys: do you feel that this game, though, the playing only, what did Ohio State play? 6 or 7 games? I think 6 games coming in, right?
6. Yeah.
Can you be more fresh after a long? Again, I don't know, but I've always heard after a long season, these last games can be difficult. Your team, you're not hitting the weights like you did earlier in the season because you didn't have that, because you're just surviving. And then week into week, as you start to approach week 8, 9, 10, 11, you're maybe, and I can't say Ohio State wasn't. They're on their game because they played 6 games, so they're not in that day one essentially mode. Do they have the advantage of fresh legs and that? And is that really a fair match? Game 6 and 7 for one team and 11 for another. I mean, I'd say that it probably, you have a more wore down team in a team in week 11 than you do in a week 17.
That's 4 more games that a star player could have got injured. they're just a lot more fresh. And also, I'm pretty sure Ohio State had a week extra because they had some COVID cancellations the week before.
Right.
So, yeah,
Right.
there's all sorts of things like that probably gave them a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, they almost, 2 weeks on, 1 week off, or they had a few weeks before they even started playing. And, it's a lot of people say, oh, that'll make you rusty, right? But there is one take on it that you're more fresh. Hence the reason they're resting. The Kansas City rested half of their team last week, right? And their key players they do believe that the rest and the keeping people safe is better than the alternative.
I wonder if you ask someone like Saban, as a college coach, it's a little different, right? As far as development and developing your players, maybe extra games help you in a way also, right? Because you're thinking about I'm thinking probably more NCAA basketball would be the case. Like think about Kentucky where it's all freshmen, so maybe less so in football, but that might counteract some of that, right? The development of the younger players and developmental players.
Yeah, I just had always heard that towards the end of the seasons, it's everyone's ankles are wrapped. There's ice all over. They're sitting in ice baths all the time. Yeah. Their just bodies are just beat up, and when every team's dealing with that, it's one thing. But when one team is on game 6, 7, it's a little less of that, and
sure.
It's hard to ever compare because you've never been in this situation before. But now, it was certainly Ohio State looked like the fresher team and the stronger team for sure. When Clemson has never looked that outmatched, really, have they? In the past 4 years with Trevor Lawrence as their quarterback, have they ever looked that outmatched? They look pretty outmatched.
No.
So are you teasing your pick? You take Alabama to cover or win?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I still, I'd take Alabama.
You still take Alabama?
What's the spread on this one? 7.5.
7.5. I bet you that probably comes down.
Yeah, that seems high.
7.5 is nice, actually.
The little half too. Kill you.
Yeah, might have to buy a half point, bring it down to 7. Take a push, if anything. But yeah, Jay, who you taking? Who's your pick?
I think Alabama wins, but actually I like Ohio State to cover the 7.5 if I can get it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I take Alabama, and I think it might be a blowout. I think Alabama's pretty hot, and I think they're looking pretty good right now, feeling pretty good. Unless what's his name? The one guy looked a little beat up during that game. The what's his name? Wide receiver on that team, Smith, right? He looked a little bit. He looked at one point like he had like some kind of hamstring or something, or butt injury when he came.
Devonta Smith?
Did he? I didn't notice.
He's probably feeling pretty good tonight. He just won the Heisman a couple hours ago.
Yeah. No, but wasn't he like in the second half of that game? Was he kind of limping around a little bit after he kind of got flipped up end over end on that touchdown, landed on his back?
Yeah.
As long as he's good to go, I think Alabama.
Yeah, they might actually have their original star receiver back, Jalen Waddle, who got injured in like the third or second game of the season. He might be back for that championship, and that would be huge for them. An already explosive offense, just getting another explosive player. Especially if Smith is a little hurt. The total in this game is 75.
Wow.
Which is quite high. Two incredible offenses, might have a shootout, but I don't know if this game gets up there. What do you guys think?
75. Wow. It's like begging to take the under, right? Begging you to take the under.
I believe last year's was similar with LSU. And I think they might have actually gone over.
Yeah. Probably take the over.
I'll probably stay away, but
I wouldn't touch it either.
If it
Well-
stays over a touchdown, I do like Ohio State to cover and
Mhm.
Alabama to win. That would be
Yeah.
my opinions.
So Alabama scoring 50 points has not been out of the question any time this year. I think the lowest score, the lowest point total they had this year was, in fact, the Rose Bowl at 31 points. That was the lowest they had this year. So Notre Dame did do one thing. They kept them to their lowest total all year.
Time of possession.
Yeah, time of possession, right? Otherwise, it's 52 points against Florida, a 7th-ranked team, 52 against Arkansas, 63 against Mississippi, 66 against WCU, 40, just crazy point totals within the past year and even at the end of last year. So Alabama scoring 45 seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
And
Another valuable bet.
JT 42 against Auburn.
42.
Yeah, that was a disappointment, man. That was just disgusting is the only word. I expected more from Auburn and from Gus Malzahn, but when you play away at Alabama, it's a daunting task to say the least.
Yeah. So I'll take the under. Alabama still scoring that their end, doing their end of the bargain and putting up from 40 to 50 points, and Ohio State not getting to their 30, 35, whatever they have to get to.
You're just hoping for some clarity on Fields. That's really what you're hoping for. I know what you're.
I'm hoping Fields shits the bed completely.
Yeah.
So the Jets get smart and take an offensive lineman or something that they ultimately need.
That kid from Oregon is ginormous. The offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Some one guy. He's ginormous. He'd be a great pick.
Yeah.
Well, hey, a great bet all season long for Alabama, for me at least, was Alabama first half. So if you see some value there, they've killed that bet all season.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's probably the lowest it's ever been. It's probably about 3.5. They were covering 17-point first half spreads all season. So
yeah, I like that call, Anthony. I think Ohio State's chasing points.
Yeah,
I think they'll be playing from behind, and I think actually they're going to late cover. So I think they win.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a fair call. I like that.
I like that call.
That's going to wrap it up for our college football show. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed watching, and make sure you come back for our NFL show about Week 17 in the playoffs. It's going to be a good one. And then head over to TheFanUnion.com. Check out those grievances. Check out those polls. And make your first post. We want to hear about your favorite teams, your favorite sports, your favorite players, and what you think about the sports going on right now. Use it like you would any other social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and there's a lot of people on there that would love to have you. So we'll see you there, and we'll see you at our next show.